having talked to a couple people who have sold their companies, it seems to always go the same way. You're driving home one day and you're like, I'm done. It's that clear. It's that crystal clear. And you're just like, okay, so now that I've acknowledged that, what are the steps to make that happen, right? And so for me, I talked to my financial people and I talked to you and I said, okay, so I'm thinking of exiting. I got out into industry groups and started courting.
All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of Don't Be That Guy, the webinar series that we've been doing pretty much all year long now, Ryan. I think we're well into, I think we started in like April or maybe even May. So we put this plan together last year and we've run it through. In fact, Ryan, hopefully we can get together in the next few weeks and plan out 2026 as well.
I look forward to it. I expect my pay to double from this year.
Double this year. All right, perfect. I think that will be easy. So, you know, this series has been a lot of fun and we are getting these up over onto YouTube. So make sure if you miss an episode or if you want to check out an episode, or if you're already on YouTube watching this, thanks for joining the channel. Give us that like, that share, subscribe. It means a lot. Put some comments in. We read those and respond to those. But Ryan, today our topic is just sell your business already or don't. And I know you went through this process. God, has it been 2 years now or 3 years? Probably 2 years.
It's been close to 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I know, time flies.
You know, Ryan, maybe kind of, if you don't mind, walk us through that period. Because if my memory says you kind of met some interested buyers, and it was within that year you had sold, if I'm thinking of the timing correctly.
So let's back up real quick and get in that owner's mindset, because I think a lot of owners are, I'm never going to sell this. This is my gravy train. I'm just going to run it. I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it. And that's the mindset that I had until I didn't. And having talked to a couple people who have sold their companies, it seems to always go the same way. You're driving home one day and you're like, I'm done. It's that clear. It's that crystal clear. And you're just like, okay, so now that I've acknowledged that, what are the steps to make that happen? Right. And so for me, I talked to my financial people and I talked to you and I said, okay, so I'm thinking of exiting. I got out into industry groups and started courting, if you will. Okay. I didn't go the traditional broker route or anything like that. I was very much like, I want to find an organization whose corporate culture will sync with mine as best I possibly could. And so I equate that to a little bit of maybe there was a 6-month dating period. And then once we kind of agreed that this would be a good idea, you're right, it did move kind of fast. And there was probably about a year from saying, I'm ready to sell to I've sold.
Okay. And you know, when you hit that wall of just like, I'm done, can you walk us through like that moment of what kind of told you were done, or what was the feeling? And if it was just kind of personal life saying I'm done, you know, maybe walk us through that a little bit.
So I would say there was two folds. One was, it was right after COVID. I was exhausted. Like the world took everything I had from me to get my team and my organization and my company through COVID. The world doesn't give you a chance to take a break, though. It doesn't give you that recovery period. And so I knew I was not at my peak A game performance, okay, because I had given all of that. And we did amazing. I mean, coming out of COVID, we were on top. Like our revenue numbers were great. Everything was looking beautiful. Not a bad time to look at selling because your revenue numbers are up. Everything's looking great. At the same time, I knew I was at that like $2 million-ish mark, right? And that's when you really need to start thinking about a sales team. That's when you really you're like, I can maintain. I'm not a maintainer. Like I want to grow something or not, right? Like, I'm not just going to like ride this. And I knew I wasn't the right person to take this organization to the next level. And that's a tough thing for an owner to say. That's a really tough thing. Being like, I've gotten it this far. I'm not the one to manage the sales team. I'm not the one to level us up to that next level. I'm good at growing things up to this point. And so I decided to partner slash sell to an organization that had an amazing sales force and that we complemented each other's strengths well. And I still think it was a good match.
Yeah, I agree, and that's interesting. Now, I'm going to say a word, Ryan, and I want you to give me your first reaction, and kind of indicating if you think it's a positive word or a negative word. But just give me your reaction, and then we're going to talk about this word a little bit. Okay,
Okay.
you ready?
Yep.
Lifestyle business.
Ah, yes. So I see it as a positive thing. Okay. A business that allows me to live the lifestyle I want to. Okay. Maybe I'm not as concerned about what the profit and loss looks like because maybe there's things in that profit and loss that I'm expensing that, I mean, are legitimate business expenses viewed by me, and I can make a story around that. Okay. Um, I think the flip side of that is we're just strictly grooming this to drop money to the bottom line. Okay. Am I close to what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think whatever you think is great. That lifestyle business. I'm glad that you viewed it as positive, as a positive word. What do you think there were any periods of your ownership journey where you didn't think of it as a positive word?
I don't think I thought about it very
Didn't
much,
think
but
about it.
no, not really. I mean, I just kind of like ran my business, did my thing, had fun doing it. Like, and let's put it this way. If I didn't view the organization as a lifestyle business, we would not have purchased a $10,000 Millennium Falcon bouncy house for the team.
Fair, fair. I think, and I'm happy to be wrong, and let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. But I think a lot of times the phrase lifestyle business comes off negative to many owners, because I think that attributes, or they feel like that attributes that you're not a real business, you're not a real business person, you're not meeting the stated goal of so many businesses to grow and get profitable, which are awesome things, by the way. And I think that just feels like they've given up. And I don't agree with that thought, but I think there is a confusion that many businesses have about, am I a lifestyle business or am I a growth business?
Why can't you be both, Josh?
Well, you can, but here you might be able to. I think what happens is, as we get to that 2 million range, and for some people it's that $1 million range, we've done so with a lot of just great tactics and timing and relationships. We've we've built that business and that revenue through not concerted sales efforts, not planning what we're going to do next. And again, those can seem negative to some people. And what I see a lot is this kind of identity crisis around that 1.5, sometimes $2 million mark, of saying, I don't have the money to invest in sales and marketing. I don't know how to invest in sales and marketing. I don't want to be a sales manager. And that's their heart, that's their truth. At the same time, they still feel this compulsion that, well, I should be doing that. And if they were able to see clearly that, like, hey, I don't have to do that. I'm 45 years old. I'm really happy with the income I have and how this business is going and provides me a great lifestyle. Why do I need to grow to beat inflation and attrition? If that was something they could come to on their own, they would just say, "Cool, I'm just gonna chill." But I don't see many people just chilling because of that identity crisis.
Well, I think it's also more than the identity crisis. I think it's also a staffing thing because your staff wants to see you growing. Your
Mhm.
staff wants to be on that ship that is going somewhere, not the one that's just doing circles, right? And
Yeah,
so I felt being compelled to we grew roughly 12 to 15% per year. I think during our COVID years, we grew 25%. I don't recommend that for anybody. That's where a lot of this grade comes from, and the little bit that's fallen out fell out bang.
yes. Yeah, that I think, yes, a team wants to be on a winning team or ship that's really going somewhere. I also think, and again, yeah, kind of at that 2,000,000 mark, we see the benefits of being more strategic and, keeping that great tactical mindset, but putting some strategy around those tactics. And part of coming up with that strategy is to start getting really clear on evangelizing what your vision is for the company and really getting that into the team's mindset to say, hey, this is what this company is doing. We're going to try to grow 12%, 15%, 20%. We're going to try to get to $5 million in 3 years. Whatever that goal is, or to kind of have that stated vision of, hey, this is a business that's going to be a really safe place for you to work. You're going to be able to be here for a good 5, 10, 15 years. But our goal is to just have an amazing client experience and keep all of us in a really nice, economic position. So the team can kind of rally behind that and choose if that's the ship they want to be on or not.
There's nothing wrong with that
Not at all.
because when you hit that 1.5 to $2 million mark, and if you're doing a really good job there, you're gonna most likely be fairly profitable. Okay. And I remember going to a course, it was like a mini MBA based on your business. And it was a 6 month intense thing. And I was looking at all these books for all these other companies. There were IT departments there that had doing $20 million a year. I was making more off my 2 million than they were off their 20.
Right. Right.
And I didn't have as many headaches.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. I just was working with a client literally yesterday and they were in that 10 million range. And I think the owner, does those, but profit wise, they're break even. They're break even. And I have met many 10, $15 million guys that say, if I could start all over, I would just get this thing to 2 million, have about four guys working for me, make a half a million a year, and have zero headaches. So
Yeah.
I think getting clear and getting off that fence is really important. And I was talking to this guy, Ryan, the other day. His name is James. He's down in Australia. He's a business coach like ourselves, and really awesome dude. And he kind of blew my mind. He was more of a visionary than I am on where maybe the market is going or where MSPs are going. And he took this outlook that he said, if you're not willing at $2 million at in 2025, 2026 to pivot into being a totally different type of business, very advisory, very consultative with your clients, getting into their business processes, you might as well sell today. And I think that's harsh, and I've had some time to think about it, and I don't disagree with him entirely. I can't even articulate my argument against what he said exactly. Uh, but I that was very sobering for me, where it's like, hey, this is a great time to sell.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to go into the next generation of MSP, just get out now. That was his message, and I don't know that I endorse it yet, but I might very well in the very short term because he's predicting a radical change in how we do business. He was very flattering of MSPs, flattering of MSP owners, flattering of all the technologists. But he was like, that model is not it. That's not it moving forward. We've kind of wrung that dry over the last 15 years. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Sure do. And I think that the seed of what has just sprouted in that thought was in my mind when I sold as well. Because I asked myself, what does my industry look like in 10 years? It looks very different. It was not going to be business as usual. And then there was part of me that has learned it's hard to change an organization. It's easier to start a new one, doing something different. Okay. And so, um, you don't have to get out of the MSP space if you sell, right? Okay. You can sell your existing client base, the existing like book of business, doing it as normal, and then say, okay, if I'm going to pivot, I mean, my team is doing this, give them the option. If they want, they can come over, right? But I'm going to start something new from a branding standpoint. I'm going to start like, this is what it looks like, and I'm just throwing things out here with AI doing all the back end side of things and us coming in to talk more. How do we integrate these new evolving technologies and make your processes better? One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm working with a business coaching company. Okay. And they come in, they analyze processes, and I'm coming in behind them saying, once you have these processes absolutely amazing for your organization, now let's see what technology can do to leverage them. But they're going to be in there for a year before they bring me in.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great business model. It really is, and I think that their idea to bring in a technologist like yourself to say, "Cool, he understands process, he understands technology. How do we marry the two?" And I mean that could be that initially I think that'll be what they would call a secondary competitor. So you got like your primary competitor is a movie theater competing with another movie theater. Secondary competitor is the movie theater competing with the playhouse, where you go and see shows or or some other theater, live theater. This would be very secondarily because they're still competing for that same wallet share.
Right.
And if they need to start reducing what that MSP does to afford somebody addressing technology in a different way, they very well might. Can we go on a little tangent here, by the way? This is not a commercial for this company, but I'll name them just so you know the context of the tangent. I was talking to I don't remember his name, but he's from a company called Process Plan. Do you remember Process Plan? Okay, so they were really, in my mind, they were very active in like the mid teens, 20 teens. And I remember, and I told the owner this the other day when we spoke. I said, I'm really glad to see your email come through, and I'm glad you guys are still around. I always had this sympathy for your company because I just knew and observed that creating process for MSPs has just been historically tough. They're so busy doing that, pulling back to write the process app. We do all these things. This does not come naturally. And I always thought you were fighting an uphill battle. And I think he, kind of appreciated that and was like, yeah, it is tough. But I was responding to an email that he sent me. And that email was, and he wasn't sending it to me, it was just a mass email, our AI employees. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Let's set a meeting. So I set a meeting. And the long and the short of it is, Ryan, and I'll probably butcher, how they do things, but essentially he says, you don't have to go and write all those internal processes anymore. You don't need to write all those external processes anymore. What you do is you screen record yourself doing the process,
Yeah.
like, doing your accounts receivable or logging into your QuickBooks to, send invoices, your ConnectWise send invoices. You record it, you send that to them, and some very short period of time later, they've set up an AI agent on its own workstation, and now that thing will do what you just did. And as it gets better and better, it will not just do dumb clicking. It's going to apply some logic to what it's doing as well, just like an employee would. So I was like, that's amazing.
I
And
wish I would have had that for bookkeeping. I'm not going to lie.
absolutely, absolutely. And I told him, I'll tell you, and my own consultant, agreed with me. I said, dude, this is amazing. I love it. I want it. I want to start playing with it right now. But as soon as I go to my consultant and start talking about this, and he is a technologist and he loves technology, he's going to shut me down because it's not on our strategic plan. And he's going to accuse me of my shiny object syndrome real quick. So, and sure enough, I brought it to my consultant. I said, dude, now listen, I know you're going to think it's a shiny object, but this is really the thing.
Right.
And he's like, how do you want me to respond?
How do you want me to tell me what you want me to say?
Right. So
So no,
anyway, this model of it is just amazing. And how does an MSP start playing in that world, especially when great technology is sitting there trying to do that for you?
for sure. I think that we are just scratching the surface with what business process we can see automated as well as refined. And this is where I think that garbage in, garbage out comes. If that recording that you send to them isn't dialed the way you want it to, you're like, oh, well, I knew this one thing, but I just had that in the background and I didn't show AI, right?
Right.
Like it still takes some level of interaction to think about those things.
Yes.
I'm writing a book right now, and I have Claude.ai up over here for helping me with vocabulary, spelling, grammar, things like that. And then I have ChatGPT up over here for imagery, things along those lines. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, and Claude will write me the prompt to put into ChatGPT. I sat here the other day and I'm like, I feel like I have 7 staff people working for me right now. And
Wow.
it's just me and $20 a month.
Right. Right. And to that point, with that, assistance that AI gives you, assistance that, some of many of your employees give you, um, there's this gap between what we as or you all as MSPs and technologists can do and the creativity you bring to bear. A non-technology company doesn't have that same creativity and curiosity, and and it requires that prompting from folks like people that are watching this video, or yourself, Ryan. So I think there's the world doesn't even know to be asking for it yet.
So let's go down a specific case because there's a lot of people out there right now that are thinking like, okay, this is all great, but give me an example, something I can sink my teeth into. So let's talk about a company in Montana. I won't say their name, but they're a big company, $20 million a year, going through a family transition. It was a family business. They're transitioning to the younger generation, something I think we're seeing a lot more of these days. And they wanted to automate their process. They wanted software to help them, right? Okay, so they go and internally, the kids find this software and they think it's really good and it's going to do all this stuff. And so they sign a contract for like 6 years, $300,000. And the third weekend, they realize it's not going to work,
Mm,
but they're in this contract. And it's not uncommon to see companies do this 2 or 3 times in a row before they actually settle on that software. Okay, so 300K, 300K. Now we now have a $600,000 budget, Josh, to make a software decision. Is what I just heard,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so trying to head those decisions off ahead of time, partnering with those business development people, that's that's a niche, right? That's a thing that like, and it's probably not that hard for most people on this call to be able to, if we're somewhat interested in learning about those business processes, okay, just like that person you were talking to about earlier said, if we're willing to get in there a little bit, in my place, I just took a bunch of consultants that are amazing at doing their job that are going to go in there, learn all those things, and give me the Cliff Note version of it. And they're like, they wanted to do this, go find it. Um, and then what the heck? Let's go jump on some planes. Let's go look at other like type companies. Let's go talk to them. Let's go find out what they like, they don't like. Bring that back to the client. We look like absolute geniuses because they're like, oh, well, the salespeople didn't tell us XYZ. Maybe it's a Zoom call, right? But let's use that analytical brain of ours to solve things other than why is Outlook not connected?
Well, that's exactly right, and that does bring us kind of full loop on this idea of sell the business or don't. If my new friend in Australia is directionally correct or 100% correct, we are facing this moment of what does it mean to be an MSP in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and sitting on the fence of what do I want to do? Now there might be a clock running that wasn't running before. And as much as I'm not a fan of Robin Robbins at all, and she's not a fan of me, and shout out to Robin, you'll never watch this, but I know you don't like me and I don't like you. I have to give her credit. She said something beautiful like 15 years ago, and I don't even know if it was as true then as it is now. Uh, MSPs go out of business very slowly. They've got some nice recurring revenue. They've got some nice clients that do great work with them, but they are going to lose those clients faster than they bring them on.
Yeah.
And so they can go out of business very slowly. And I think those words are more true today than ever.
Mhm.
And so if Robin was right, if my new friend James is right, if I'm agreeing with the right thing, it really does put people in a position of, what are you doing? You got to have some clarity on what you want to do. And Ryan, one of the things that I see in owners, what they struggle with a lot is kind of that balance of, like, they think it's greedy. They might think it's impolite in common society to say, I want to sell this business for $2 million so I can have $1.5 million in my pocket so I can do whatever I want. Bringing them to say those words for you, you have no problem with that, right?
No, it's fine.
Right. But a lot of folks, there's this kind of thing, either they're too polite, they're too scared, they're too ashamed. Money is a very sensitive, interesting topic for people, but that inability to name what you want keeps you on that fence. Something, again, you don't struggle with,
Not
right?
now. I think I used to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that I was very devoted to my team and my client base.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't I didn't really, yes, I was in charge of the organization, but I saw myself as a servant leader type
Mhm.
where I'm here to facilitate all of these things to keep the cogs greased, right? To keep everything moving. And that conveyor belt of money that comes through the company, hopefully we can pick as much of that off of the conveyor belt as we possibly can before we're shipping it out in payroll, shipping it out in invoices to Dell, things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there came that point for me where I'm like, this is killing me. This is literally killing me. And you have to go inside a little bit as a business owner in this moment. And you have to find that place where you can say, that is valuable. And so am I. My sanity is valuable. Okay. And then that matures into, okay, so I'm valuable. My sanity is valuable. This is what I know, right? Like most of us probably have been running an MSP for a year, right? Like we've probably been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Okay. And we're getting to the point of like, well, okay, so what would I actually do to make money if I didn't have this? Well, that's where that number comes in at. That's your cushion number, right? Because you're not most likely going to jump out of an MSP and jump right back into something because you're probably going to need a break. Go on a vacation, like go find yourself a little bit. You haven't had a moment where you weren't staring at your cell phone, like waiting for that client to call for probably 10 years. Okay. You don't know who you are anymore. That's this is the path to get to the place where you can say, I'm okay talking about a number.
We'll be right back with more, but first, here's a quick message from Bering McKinley.
Most MSPs are constantly busy, chasing tickets, projects, and fires. But without structure, it's hard to know if the business is really improving. Vision from Bering McKinley is the system that helps you work on your business, not just in it. It connects leadership strategy with daily execution. Vision aligns people, process, and performance, creating clarity and rhythm from goals to results. And the Vision app brings that structure to life. helping you create policies, track goals, review KPIs, and collaborate with your BMK consultant all in one place. Behind it all, Jetson AI, your assistant inside Vision, helps you find answers, generate insights, and take action faster. With Vision, you gain visibility, accountability, and measurable growth. You're not guessing, you're improving. Vision, Jetson, and the Vision app, your path from strategy to results. Start transforming your business today.
All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Mm. I love that. I use this analogy with our vision clients a lot, and it seems to resonate well. It's, you know, in flying, every takeoff is optional, every landing is required. And if you started this business, the analogy is you've decided to take off. You said, I'm not going to stay on the ground and get a W-2 wage and work for someone else. You took, one of the biggest risks in life. You started a business. And as you're doing that, you spend that 5, 10, 15 years kind of just flying around in the sky, enjoying the view, sometimes going through some bad weather, sometimes being scared shitless, sometimes feeling like you got it all under control, can change in an instant. Uh, but what you didn't do was name the airport you're landing at. Whether it's the same, hopefully it's not the same airport you took off from, meaning you're
Right.
going somewhere.
I flew for 15 years and went nowhere.
That's right. That's right. That's what happens. So again, in flying, there's two types of landings: on airport and off airport. Right? There's only two. Right? So I think a lot of us have these off airport landings where we didn't just magically grease a landing at this wonderful place. We just kind of maybe slowly actually died. I've seen that now about 7 times. I've been doing this a long time. And it's just, it doesn't always have to be catastrophic. It can be, I can't do it anymore. And you sell it for way less than it was worth and you just got out of there. So we like to encourage people, like, have a plan, name where you are going. And that name of that airport is typically a valuation number. You know what? In 10 years, I'm going to sell this business for $2 million, $5 million, or I'm going to have a valuation of $5 million, $10 million. And when I land, I can turn to the terminal to the left, and that terminal is, I sell it. Or I can go to the terminal to the right and say, I just stepped back and I got myself in a good enough position. I did my math and I ran my plan. And now I don't have to work in this business if I don't want to. My kids are doing it. My employees are doing it. It's part of our estate. We just pull cash out of it. All of those are great, but we got to name that airport. And once we can name that airport, we've shown that bravery, shown that thing of, I'm not afraid to, see value in myself and my sanity, and you'll know, right? You, in that takeoff moment, you chose this vehicle, you chose an MSP, and you probably just chose it because you know technology, or you just chose it because that was a very natural byproduct of your previous career. But you chose it, and at some point you had to, or you will have to recognize, is this the vehicle that gets me to where I want to be? I can work a W-2 and get to some destination. I can start this business and get to a destination. I can open, 5 Subway sandwich places and get to some destination. But you chose this vehicle. So do yourself a favor and name where you're trying to go. And once you do that, then you can start processing, what it means to be dedicated to your team, dedicated to your clients, and still dedicate yourself to getting, a great payout at the end. So you can go do other amazing things. Give it all away. I don't give a fuck. But
Talk about valuation real quick, John.
please.
Okay. Because this is something that I didn't really ever think. I think I might have heard the term during my tenure running the company in the first 15 years. Okay. Somebody said once something about it at a business class. Okay. Whatever. That's not something that pertains to me. It kind of is, because when you get into the nuts and bolts of selling an MSP, this is not a mystery to the people who are buying, for the most part. Okay. The people who are actively out there acquiring MSPs, there is a formula. I encourage you to learn that formula sooner rather than later. Okay. I am not the one to teach it to you. I knew it from my sale. Josh does this stuff all the time. Josh knows more about this than I do. But there's certain things that you can do that make you more attractive in that valuation process. I got hit a couple points because my reoccurring revenue wasn't at a specific percentage. And you're like, but I'm profitable. You have to be profitable in the right way for them. And we can give you advice to run that lifestyle type business, right? We can give you advice to also run that business to get you to that valuation number. Okay. And I ran it mostly like a lifestyle business. I did. I was making good margin. I was making good money, and I didn't really care where it came from. Project-based labor was great for us. And we were 75% project-based labor there for a while. You tell that to somebody who's looking to acquire you, and their eyebrows fly off their head. And they're like, whoa, what do you mean 75? We want you 75% reoccurring, right? Because that's a safer bet for them. And then you can't just flip a switch and change that overnight inside your organization. This is something that's this is a cultural shift. This is a change inside. And so the sooner you realize these things and the sooner you have more runway ahead of you, the easier that gets. And I maintain every one of us should be running our companies every day like we're selling our business tomorrow, because you're just going to be making good business decisions.
That's right. That's right. And once you name it that, hey, I am looking to sell this business by this date, don't make it tomorrow, hopefully, but 5-10 years out, you just start making different and usually better decisions because you're working with intention and purpose.
Yeah.
And when you get to that date and you achieved it, don't sell it. Who cares? Right? Or sell it. It doesn't matter. But plan for this idea that I'm selling this thing and I'm going to make the decisions that serve my clients, serve my employees, and serve me so that I can get that payout.
For sure.
Yeah, great stuff, Ryan. It's when I came up with this title way back probably in January of just sell your business or don't, I felt really strongly about it then. I feel even as strong today, but for a whole different set of reasons. We've gone on this journey with our clients over this last year on vision and knowing where you're going and naming that up front. And it's been a fun thing. Again, I was working with that client yesterday, and they were it didn't take as long with this person to kind of say, hey, I do want to sell this and I want to sell it by this date, and this is why. And his why was, I'm fed up. I'm fed up of not being profitable. I'm fed up of just, to use your analogy, just run that conveyor belt and not being able to take any real money off. That I've moved across country and I love where I live, but I'm not living in the house I own. I live in some rented thing. At this stage, I should have been able to buy this house that I'm living in here in this other state. And he had reached such a maximum frustration level that he was like, everything I've done to get us here, and they are not small, mind you this, everything I've done to get us here should have had a whole different result. And I don't have the energy or the enthusiasm to start over in a new model. I want to take a lower valuation that I should have been able to get if I'd done it this other way from the beginning. I'll take a lower valuation, but I've got a strong timeline now. And he just felt energized from that decision. I think we just took him over that final few steps, but he was there.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I'm curious, like, that's going to be a tough place to kind of advise from, like, because what is somebody actually buying that if he's not pulling a lot of money off that conveyor belt, like, where's the value proposition for somebody who's looking to buy it?
Yeah, that's a great observation. What in his case or their case is they've been making some really awkward staffing decisions. They have not understood the financials very well, and if they watch this, they'll probably understand I'm talking about them. But No one knows who they are. Dude, they have like close to, well, a little over $200,000 a month of recurring revenue. And when I said, cool, we're going through our assessments here, what is your agreement gross profit? They looked confident and they were like, named off some percent. And I'm like, that's a weird number to pull. Show me. And when they showed me their spreadsheet and showed me all the things, it was like, oh, yeah, this spreadsheet is not helpful at all. Great work. You put something together, but you're not calculating. I said, just, okay, go to the whiteboard, just write the formula for agreement gross profit. And they were lost. They had no idea. Then we said, let's look at effective hourly rate. What does that mean? What do you think? So they had been in this industry for years and had a great book of business, but they had no idea how to measure even their agreements. And they were, I think when we got to our close to final number, it was like 40 something percent. So, and it's pricing and poor service delivery from an efficiency standpoint. So I think that the guidance that we're going to be working on is let's right size those clients that can be more profitable. Let's shed some clients that don't want to come along on that next version. We're going to lose a lot of staff because we're not going to have all that revenue that we're just passing from the left hand to the right hand. So we're probably going to see a really big drop in revenue, but we're going to see a massive increase in profit. And the same things that had been getting you clients before, we're going to see if that's going to get you clients in the future when you're pricing a little more appropriately.
Right.
So we're going to be doing the math later on today, but at this point, I'm not going to be surprised if they take a 30% hit in revenue in 2026, but they're going to see 10, 15 point increase in profitability, which that's your true measure,
Right. Can you give us a scale? Are they like a $1, $2, $3 million MSP?
They're closer to 9.
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're nice. And the ultimate test here, and I think all of us want to reject that we are this person, but test yourself. Are you the person that gets a little bit of an ego kick off of my top line revenue?
Oh.
Right. And they say revenue is for show, profits for dough. Right. So is this person going to be able to still feel awesome about being 7 million, 6 million and be really profitable? Or how attached is he to this idea that we're $9-10 million and we've been growing at this rate? And how much emotion does he put into that, or how much does he value himself based on that revenue number? Because he's fed up on the profit side. Is he willing to make that move to say, I'm going to take a hit in revenue so I can be profitable, so I can sell at a really great multiplier and, continue to grow, until I get that multiplier.
Right.
So those are not fun meetings, Ryan.
No. Well, because there's emotions. We're human, right? And I mean, they probably didn't grow this $9 million company in a year or two. They've got a significant portion of their life invested in this. And it takes a big business owner to say, I need to set those emotions aside. This is where this is at. And I need to ignore a lot of the mind junk that got me here and set that aside as well, and just be like, give me the hard decisions that need to be made that will get me to whatever that goal is. And maybe that goal, never assume that the goal is profit, because I've seen people make business decisions that I'm just like, huh? And they're like, no, we need to be a $10 million company. And they will sacrifice the profit to get to that goal. I was always bottom line driven. It's funny you mentioned like the top line is for show, revenues for show, because I there were many years that you could have asked me how big of an MSP I was, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I can tell you what my profit margin is on what we do make, and like
Right.
I would have to back into that number based on my margin and like how much I was dropping to the bottom line.
Right. That's hilarious. You lived it. Well, you're from Montana, where the You don't want to be the all hat and no cattle type of guy.
There you go.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah, when we think about like this company, for example, if I started the meeting with, "Hey, your numbers suck. You're doing terrible. You should shed 30% of your revenue and get profitable." That message doesn't land unless we spent the literally 6 hours before that talking about what he wants to do and where he wants to go and how fed up he is. Because once you get clear on where you're trying to go, tougher decisions don't feel as tough,
Right.
right? Hey, I want to have $2 million at age 60 so I can go and do whatever I want to do. Great. What's the best fucking path to get there? Right? Because what got us here probably isn't going to get us to you putting 2 million in your pocket.
Not
Oh,
if you're running a $9 million MSP and you can't afford to buy a house.
right. Right.
Like, there's some tough choices that are going to need to be made.
There's some tough choices. So yeah, we're gonna meet again today, and we worked until doesn't sound that late, but 9 o'clock last night. We were all exhausted, and
Yeah.
we're gonna fire back up here in another couple hours, and I'm excited to see how their enthusiasm continues for today because now we're putting paper to pencil or pencil to paper and starting to do some hard numbers. But it's part of the gig, and that on that theme of sell your business or don't really speaks to have a goal. Don't live one foot in each camp of in my lifestyle and my growth. Where am I trying to go? Because unless you're crystal clear and have conviction behind that, you're just, burning holes in the sky trying to enjoy the view.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, good. Now, Ryan, let me ask you, and we're going to kind of start winding down here. When you had that moment where you said, I'm right, I'm going to sell. And a year later, we were pretty much done and you had sold. When you had started the journey and you mentioned valuations and that you didn't feel really comfortable with them at that point, when you got that first valuation, and I think I did the valuation actually, but when you got that valuation, how did that feel? Were you thinking, this is crazy, I thought it was worth a lot more, or wow, I can't even believe it's this? What was your emotional reaction to seeing that number?
So it was pretty much kind of where I thought it was going to be based on my research, because you have a multiplier based on the money you're dropping to the bottom line type of thing. And it came in really close. And I think because I did evaluation, they did evaluation, um, theirs came in a little bit higher than ours did. And so all
Right.
I had to do was agree with theirs and we were done.
Right, right. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been referring a lot of people recently to this seminar that I went to, put on by a company called Generational Group. I don't get anything for referring people. I might have to change that because people love it. I went to this seminar and they put on this 1 day workshop where they kind of teach you everything about selling a business. They teach you about valuation models, they teach you about the economy, they teach you about the process of selling. And one of the things they pointed out to me, I considered I had some good skill in this. After about 4 hours, I was like, oh shit, there's a whole different way to look at this. And the point was, you just mentioned the multiples of earning method of valuing,
Yeah.
and solid, no problem there. But they taught us about the discounted cash flow model of valuation. And what that does is, instead of just looking at past earnings, it looks at it from the perspective of what kind of cash flow is this entity going to throw off in the next 3 to 5 years. And then they back out some inflation, and then they put a risk rating on it. And there's the discounted cash flow model. And it typically comes out much higher than the multiples of EBITDA, which then says, well, hey, we got to remember the old axiom, it's only worth what someone else will pay for it, right? And if your buyer is only looking at multiples of earnings, well, now you've got this gap. So the larger point that they made was, most businesses sell in the following format. Owner decides that they might want to sell, and they finally take that call from their competitor or some private equity group. And it's maybe they've talked to one or two buyers and they get emotionally attached to the deal. The numbers seem good enough, and then they work through it. That's how every deal I've ever seen goes,
Yeah.
right? What they, their service, because obviously they're putting on this really awesome workshop for a reason. They want you to become a client.
Yeah.
They kind of look at it and say, hey, forget doing that. Go to a group like us, and we're going to package you up, do the valuation, do all the wonderful things, and we're going to market your business, but we're not going to market it just to your competitors. We're going to market it to all of the potential buyers out in the world who might look to buy your business and you might be very surprised who that buyer is. It might be some completely unrelated business who they look at you and say, oh, you're really cheap. We're $100 million company. You're really cheap, even if we paid you more than you think you're going to get, because that tucks into our overall strategy. And that kind of blew my mind. So I've sent a few people to them to go to that course. And I always tell them, don't just sign up and become a client. Just go there for the free education, get the free lunch and the free education, and then walk away. Just get something, get a different lens on that selling process and that valuation process than what you're accustomed to hearing from guys like me or other people in the industry. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think with anything, the more perspectives you can get on it. I've heard of that method of valuation before.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes it's helpful in a negotiation, like to give you a range, right?
Yeah.
And then to negotiate maybe where they were at up a bit type of thing. I've talked to people who have used services probably not as good as what you just mentioned,
Mhm.
but they seem to have been happy with them. It just it just all comes down to how you want to do it.
Mhm.
I liked building the personal relationship with the company that I was getting to know to transition my organization to. And for me, one of the things that I needed to walk away from that sale with, other than money, was knowing that I did everything in my power to set everybody up for success.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Um, you know me pretty well. I'm a nice enough guy. I don't think anyone goes around saying Josh is a really nice guy. Uh, I have to work very hard at empathy. At empathy, it does not come natural to me. I think I have a missing gene a little bit, but I understand empathy and try to be empathetic. When people talk about I care so much about my team. I love my team. I've got to take care of them. I get it. I love the people at Bering McKinley. But I haven't been in that position yet to say, how much do I care? And what does my caring look like? If I sell to, somebody that I really love and I think they're going to be great for my team, and I get a good enough number, okay, cool. I'm with that. But I wonder if I say, I'm going to take all emotion out of it. And if I sell to a company that I don't know, that I don't necessarily click with, and they give me, one and a half, two times more, can I show my love and appreciation for my team monetarily? Is there other ways that I can get to the same objective of taking care of people? And I don't want to sound like a total asshole, but I also kind of look at it and say, look, my business, I took all the risk. I did all of the hours you didn't have to do. And I'm selling this however the fuck I want to sell it. And if you don't like the buyer, I got it, man. Bounce. Right? Go, you're grown up. You have your own career. Go do what you want to do. Now you are a really nice guy. Does that just sound really shitty out loud that I said this out loud?
So I'm curious on how I would have that conversation after I sold. Okay, let's say I get an extra amount. Let's say I've got 10 staff. I made an extra amount that I can give them 10 grand a piece.
Mhm.
Okay. Be like, well, guys, I sold to a shitty company, but I got a lot of money. Here's 10 grand. Good luck with the rest of your life.
Okay, good. So we are agreeing. That sounds
No, we're not agreeing. I'm just like walking this dog down the road a little bit. Um, I think that's an approach. So at the end of the day, I don't even know which is better, because here I am 2-3 years out. I just had lunch with one of my main technician, and out of 25 people, there's 2 left.
Okay. What does that tell you?
It tells me that some of them would have preferred the 10 grand.
Well, you've conceded an inch. I'm not going to take a mile, but it may look like I'm taking a mile. I think that's another danger in that kind of approach of vetting the buyer so hard on behalf of the employees, or what you think is best for the employees. You are assigning a lot of things on behalf of that employee. I think that Bobby would do better here. I think Johnny would do better here. I think Carla would do best here. Um, well, we don't know. We have no idea what they value, other than they like me as the owner, and hopefully they'll like the next guy. Is that mental exercise and that, fiscal exercise worth it for everyone involved? I don't know.
So the only way you can know that is you ask yourself one question. What do I need to sleep at night?
Yeah, fair enough.
As owner, as the person selling. Okay, and we have our first question.
All right.
Josh, as an employee, what options do I have if my owner is thinking about selling? I think we just outlined those.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I don't know if that question was, was to be read in the defeated. Now, what options do I have anyway? Or, hey, what options do I have? I've seen this a lot. A really close acquaintance of mine bought a company in a neighboring city about 10, 15 years ago. And they didn't do the diligence they might should have. And they got a big SBA loan, and they buy this business. And it was within weeks that the awesome salesperson goes across the street to another MSP and says, I don't have a non-compete. I don't have a non-disclosure. The company just got bought. I've got the client list. Will you hire me? So there's an option, right? Who cares? It's just, you find yourself as an employee of a sold company. And I think, number one, you've got to take care of yourself first. I think that, if I'm an employee and I have worth and the company sells, man, I'm writing my own ticket, because I'm going to understand that buyer is likely scared shitless. They don't want to lose a single employee. They don't want to lose a single client.
Yes.
I'm coming for a raise. I'm coming for more responsibility. I'm coming for a promotion. I am going to value my position in that moment to say, what do I want in order for this to feel good to me? They might shut you down. Maybe they're not as scared as I predicted they would be, but hey, take care of you.
Right. I also think that this is a good time to bolster your resume. Think about training. Okay. This is a thing that the new people coming in are going to normally, if they care about things, are going to appreciate. Okay.
Yeah.
So whether you're in sales, whether you're in technical, whether you're in admin, it doesn't matter. Okay. There's that next level of education that you can go to. And maybe it's a 6-month deal. It's going to take you 6 months to figure out if you like the new company or not. Okay. So negotiate that in and be like, I would like, and frame it in a standpoint of, so I can better help you in my role here. This is something that Margaret, the lady that owned the company before you, just never had the budget for. But since you're the big dogs now, right? Like, you're coming in, you clearly want to see this grow. I want to grow with you. And so use that as your leverage to say, hey, because they probably aren't going to do raises right away, is my guess. Okay. They're going to want to keep that overhead the same, to keep that revenue number the same. But training is something that they normally have a different budget for, look at a little bit differently. Bolster that resume. And then in 6 months, you go out with a new certification. You were most likely making the same amount you were before. And now you have more options.
That's right. Yeah, as I'm thinking about it, I really love that question. What should I do if my company gets sold? I mean, I really like that. I think there's another webinar topic in there, Ryan, because it is, you observed it kind of firsthand, and I've observed, from a front row seat, lots of times when a company's been sold or bought, and watching those employees kind of not always work in their best benefit. Maybe I'm gonna show the world how displeased I am. Maybe I'm gonna shit on every idea. I think it kind of magnifies our worst personality traits when we're stressed out.
Yeah.
And we think that, well, I'm gonna sit here like this. I'm not gonna listen. I don't know this guy. It's like, man, that doesn't serve you. You don't have to be a bootlicker. You don't have to come in and, kiss everyone's rings, but you know, demonstrate that you're a team player, demonstrate that you're curious about how this all goes, and be flexible if you enjoy what you do. Um, I think that's probably the best input I could have, because no matter what, you still got to bring home your paycheck and take care of your family.
For sure.
Act accordingly. And
I definitely saw people take that road. They were just like the grumpy about everything. And there's a game to be played there.
Yeah.
And if you play the game, you can come out ahead. If you don't, you're most likely going to be let go.
I think it's that moment of being an employee for a company that just got sold. Um, it's a good time to reframe your identity a little bit too. If you take that moment to self-reflect and say, how happy am I? How have I behaved? How have I shown up in the last 2 or 3 years? Do I like, how I've behaved? Whether it's, not my fault or not, maybe the owner just made weird decisions and I was always reacting to that. Who knows? But it's like going to a new school. It's like, hey, you were in middle school, now you're in high school. Whatever people thought of you before, you can reframe that and hopefully get where you want to be.
For sure.
All right. Well, Ryan, it looked like, did I see one more question flash up, or was
So I thought I did, but then it went away.
okay? All right. Well, gang, I appreciate everyone coming in and listening to this conversation. I think this has been fun, Ryan, and I think that great question about the employee's perspective when the company gets sold, we'll have to put that on the list for next year. And next year, guys, this year the series was "Don't Be That Guy." Next year's series is "Be That Guy." So I think we can talk to owners and employees and everybody in between on, how can we operate best in these areas that we kind of worked through this year on what we were challenged with, and, how to be even better next year. So Ryan, thanks again for joining. Everyone else, make sure to
Josh.
like, share, subscribe, and Ryan, we'll catch you next time.